I welcome all of you, dear brothers and sisters, my dear friends. Today we are being once again invited to reflect on the readings of the 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. There is a very interesting episode in today's Gospel passage. This episode sets Jesus off. This episode, in a way, enrages Jesus and elicits from him certain strong and severe statements. Before we come to those statements, let us see what this episode exactly is. What is it that sets Jesus off? There is a complaint from the Pharisees and scribes. The complaint is that the disciples of Jesus are eating with defiled hands, meaning that they are eating without washing their hands. The scribes and Pharisees have many human traditions of this sort. They wash their hands before eating. They wash whatever they buy from the marketplace. They wash their plates, their pots, their cups, and so on. They have so many of such traditions. Their complaint to Jesus is that the disciples of Jesus are eating with defiled hands without washing their hands. It is this episode that sets Jesus off. So, my dear friends, how does Jesus react to this complaint of the Pharisees and scribes? What is Jesus' response to this? Jesus makes certain strong statements, quoting the prophet Isaiah. For example, he says the following statements. Isaiah rightly prophesied about you hypocrites, he says. Jesus immediately, without wasting a single minute, refers to them as hypocrites. And then he says, "This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." There is another statement which is even stronger. Jesus says, "You worship God in vain." What a strong statement this is. Their worship of God is absolutely useless. It is futile. It doesn't really bring them closer to God in any way. It is not worship at all. That is what Jesus means to say, I suppose, my dear brothers and sisters. And then Jesus goes on. Having finished quoting the prophet Isaiah, he makes certain other statements. He says, for example, that they abandon God's commandments, God's ordinances, and cling on to human traditions. They replace God's ordinances with the human traditions. Nothing that is outside a person that goes in can make that person defiled. What comes out of the person, what comes from within, what comes from the heart is what can defile a person. Therefore, any kind of evil, according to Jesus, comes from within, from the heart. Theft or adultery or fornication or slander or pride or envy or whatever, it's all coming from within, from the heart. These are some of the statements, some of the strong statements made by Jesus in responding to the complaint of the Pharisees and scribes. Looking at all these things, we can ask ourselves as to what lesson we can draw from these statements of Jesus, from this episode that we have read in today's gospel passage. What I believe is that Jesus is making a kind of distinction between a religion that is pure and a religion that is defiled. What are the characteristics of a religion that is defiled? For example, a religion that is defiled is something that is inward looking. It is self-centered. It is not outward looking. A religion that is defiled, for example, is satisfied with hearing only. A religion that is defiled is concerned with external things only. And finally, a religion that is defiled is stained by this world, meaning that a religion that is defiled tries to conform itself to the standards of this world. That is the way we can identify a religion that is defiled. Let us now move to the other type of religion, a religion that is pure in God's sight. What are the characteristics of a religion that is pure? A religion that is pure doesn't add or doesn't take away anything from God's commandments. It gives utmost attention to God's commandments. It takes God's commandments very seriously. It doesn't try to change God's commandments, God's ordinances as it pleases, according to convenience or according to practical benefits. Then a religion that is pure is focused on God. A pure religion leads us to a true worship of God. A pure religion is focused on God. God is the center of a pure religion. Then, a pure religion again is focused on the heart. It is focused on the within. It is concerned about a qualitative change that should happen within the person. It is concerned about a serious transformation that should take place within the person. That is a pure religion. And finally, a pure religion is something that leads to action. A pure religion makes me care for the other, especially the one who is in need. That is the way a pure religion should make us behave, my dear brothers and sisters. All these strong statements of Jesus, this episode that we have been referring to in today's gospel passage, welcome us to follow a religion that is pure, to come out of a religion that is defiled. Am I following a true religion, a pure religion? Is my religious life, are my religious practices leading me to God, leading me to the transformation of the heart, leading me to action, leading me to follow God's commandments as they are given to me without trying to change them or alter them according to my convenience? So, my dear brothers and sisters, let us become true worshippers of God. We are all religious people. We worship God. We love God, and that is what we profess. But are we following a religion that is pure, or are we following a religion that is defiled? Let us find an answer to this question. Let us ask Jesus to purify us so that all the religious practices that we observe in our personal lives may bring us closer and closer to God Himself and to one another. God bless you all.